Now, youth groups suspected to be MPP activists have locked up some officers of the Tamale Teaching Hospital, halting daily administrative work at the facility. The angry youth say they are unhappy with the way the facility is being managed. Earlier on, our Northern Region correspondent reported some workers did not show up for work on Wednesday because they had nowhere to sit to carry out their duties. We'll be reaching Ahmed Farid is the PRO of the Tamale Teaching Hospital to give us some more detail on that. But we also have the Northern Regional Secretary of the ruling MPP, Sule Salifu. He's been telling Joy News that party members are not solely responsible for the attack and that there were some other individuals who came together to make this happen.
First of all, let me say that the leadership of the MPP in the Northern Region does not endorse any act of lawlessness. We appreciate the fact that when we have concerns, we need to pass through the right procedure. But you know, the absence of certain political heads in the region has given the opportunity to some activists within the party to take the law into their own hands in a way. But let me also say that I was in the Upper East Region yesterday when this thing happened. When I came back to Tamale this morning, I did some inquiries, and it revealed that the absence of certain basic amenities within the hospital also accounted for the problem. Now, let me state clearly that it is not the Kandahar boys that attacked the hospital. It is some members of the MPP, together with other parties, members of the society that went to the hospital. Now, if you take...
So you know these individuals?
I'm coming. Now, let me just give you some background about it. Now, if you go to the Tamale Teaching Hospital records, you would realize that the Concerned Citizens Association of Tamale have petitioned and indeed held several press conferences against the Tamale Teaching Hospital. Now, they took somebody to the hospital who died because of lack of oxygen. The hospital upgrading had a facility to generate oxygen within the hospital. It doesn't work. Now, they take NDC activists to manage the gas plant at the Tamale Teaching Hospital. And in the night, they will take taxis and go there and, fill the gas cylinders of individuals and take money. Under the NDC administration, where Alhaji ABA Fiseni was a deputy minister, a lot of people were dismissed in the hospital. And this was the lack of transparency and the way people were behaving over there. But I'm just telling you that tomorrow, the new Northern Regional Minister will be in Tamale, and he will assume office officially tomorrow. And I believe that will bring a closure to some of these, acts that we do not like in the region.
Right, Sule Salifu is the New Patriotic Party. Now, we're reaching on the line. We have on the line right now our Northern Region correspondent, Hashmi Mohammed. He's going to be giving us some more detail on the lockup at the Tamale Teaching Hospital. Good evening to you, Hashmi. Now, what can you tell us about this attack on the hospital, the lockup of the hospital? We've just heard the MPP General Secretary for that region admit that indeed something of that sort happened. How did it all happen?
Well, the office of the chief executive remained locked. A while ago, I just spoke to the deputy PRO of the Tamale Teaching Hospital, Ahmed Farid, and who witnessed the incident as at yesterday when the incident happened. And he said some group of well-built men stormed the office of the chief executive officer, demanding to know the whereabouts of the chief executive from the secretary of the chief executive. So when they realized that the chief executive was not in the office, they ordered the secretary to the chief executive officer of the Tamale Teaching Hospital, Dr. Prosper Akambo, to pack everything that belongs to the chief executive and move out of the office. So the secretary obliged to their directive, and they took the keys to the office of the chief executive from the secretary and locked up the office. there's an inscription: if you are entering the office, do not open, or else you face the consequences. That is the inscription that they have written, that from the office, they have written on the main entrance to the office.
Right. Hashmin, what I want to find out is, what has the police done about all of this?
Well, as of yesterday, when the incident happened, the police quickly moved to the Tamale Teaching Hospital. But at the time that they arrived at the facility, the youth had already left the place. This morning, they came there, and when they came there, they just patrolled through the facility for like 5 minutes and left. And they gave their numbers to management of the facility to call them in the unlikely event that the youth group presents the place. But I've monitored throughout the day. I've not seen any of the youth group march to the facility again.
And you're saying that the CEO's office is still locked? They didn't attempt to open it and so that they can allow the workers to do their jobs?
Yes, the youth group took the keys away. So even if it operates, then that means that we will have to look for keys elsewhere to open it, or they have to change the keys all together.
All right. All right. Thank you very much, Hashmin Mohammed. Here in Accra, authorities at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital have challenged facts put out by former board chairman, Professor Anthony Salah, that the hospital's canteen food suppliers were charging food items at 3 times the market price. Documents available to our sister station Adom FM suggest food items such as mangoes and pineapples were being sold to the hospital at more than twice the market price by the new suppliers contracted by the hospital's management. Professor Salah says the board's attention was drawn to the situation when it realized the budget for the hospital's canteen had ballooned from 90,000 cedis to 190,000 cedis and ordered an investigation into the matter. He spoke to Adom FM's morning show host, Captain Smart.
Got to know that the procurement director ordered that things that they used to go to the market to buy, they should now buy it on contract. And all of a sudden, what they used to buy at about 80,000 or 90,000 a month, that is contract plus going to the market, has become only, contract plus going to the market price has now become only contract. And then the cost shot to 190,000, I believe.
Okay, so do you remember how much the previous people who were buying the foodstuff were using, the amount of money they were using before the over 90,000 cedis contract was signed?
No, the original one was about 80 to 90,000.
Okay.
Okay. But now it's short to 190,000.
Okay.
And I said, what? So I asked for more information, and I took it to the board, the next board meeting. And I expressed my outrage over that. And then the reaction was that, well, if that was the case, they should close the canteen. I said, no, nobody will close this canteen as long as I remain the board chairman, because a gigantic fraud was being perpetrated on the people of Ghana and the patients of Korle Bu Hospital. Why should you be buying things at 90,000, and then once you have contract, the things will now go to 190,000? So we should investigate it. In the meantime, we got to know that the manager of the canteen had written to central administration that the prices were too high. And it's like, hey, you shut up. This is how we are going to do things. Basically, that was the response. So she complained about that, but they did nothing. They said she should just be there, procurement to take care of it.
Now, the hospital has since denied the claims in a news release issued in the last few hours, and I'll read the portions to you. So the subject is state of affairs at Korle Bu Service Canteen. And I'll move to the third paragraph where it says, on reports about inflated price of fruits allegedly supplied to the canteen, we wish to state that an award letter was issued in May 2016 for the supply of the fruits, but it was later detected that there were errors in the figures that were quoted in the letter. This was discovered by 2 different committees that included external procurement consultants who confirmed that the figures contained errors. The contract was subsequently suspended. The fruits, rather The fruits were therefore never supplied to the canteen. It's important to note that the fruits, according to the statement, were therefore never supplied to the canteen. The service canteen management rather purchased the fruits in the open market from their impress. In fact, the supplier has never supplied fruits to the hospital or the service canteen. Essentially, that's the main thrust of the statement issued by the Korle Bu management. All right, you're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break, but still to come in the bulletin, hundreds of vehicles have been locked up at Buipe, where the main bridge linking the Brong-Ahafo, the northern region to the Brong-Ahafo is closed for repair. We'll bring you a live report as we have our man Justice Bedu there right now. And also in the bulletin, the minority is demanding a disbanding of the Invincible Forces, which the NDC says is responsible for the violent attacks on perceived sympathizers of the party and takeover of public assets. The minority has also been reacting to yesterday's State of the Nation address delivered by President Akufo-Addo. So we'll have all that and more coming up after the break session. Welcome back to Joy News Prime. Now, there's been a huge traffic build-up in the northern region town of Buipe, where the main bridge connecting the region to neighboring Brong-Ahafo remains closed for repair works. The Ghana Highway Authority closed the bridge last Monday and has directed road users to use the Wenchi-Saola route instead. But drivers complain that would cost them twice the normal travel time. Reporter Justice Bedu, currently on assignment in northern Ghana, is there for us and joins us on phone to tell us more. Good evening to you, Justice. Hello, Justice.
Hi, Israel.
All right, now, how many vehicles are currently stuck in this massive traffic jam?
So to either side of this bridge, I could estimate about 100 vehicles at least on either side of the bridge, and these are usually heavy trucks that are carrying goods from Tema Port or Kumasi or Takoradi Port and heading to Tamale, Bolgatanga, and even Burkina Faso. And also, there are lots of buses, DIT buses, carrying people from northern Ghana to the southern towns like Kumasi and Accra.
Right, I'm trying to understand how the vehicles will end up in this jam. Is it that the Highway Authority did not issue any notices to them?
So my information is that the notice for this closure came in only last week. And so many of them, even though they knew of it, it's such a short notice. And also because the alternative route which they've been given, which is having to go through Kichiman, Wenchi, Bole, Sola, and then getting back onto the Fofoso junction, would mean traveling times of twice the usual time that they would do if they had to go through the Buipe township. And so for most of them, sleeping over and having to wait till 6 a.m. when the bridge reopens again is a better option. And so this is why most of them would decide to stay behind the bridge. And so we find lots of drivers and their mates having to sleep under these heavy trucks. And then also for cars that are carrying passengers or people traveling, they are having to leave them at the point at one side of the bridge, and we now have Okada riders who are having a boom time in business, having to convey people from one side to the other side to join different buses so they could continue their journey.
All right, so it's the case that the bridge is motorable. It can be accessed, except the heavy trucks can't go across the bridge.
It can be accessed, but this afternoon I tried working on it myself as I did some filming on the bridge, and I could tell you that it's in a really serious situation, which means that anything could happen at any time. In fact, even when I tried working on it, you could feel the bridge shaking anytime one vehicle goes over it, even when you are working on it as a human, you could literally feel the bridge shaking. And so I think that it's in a really serious situation, which means that this repair work should have been a routine activity. Unfortunately, I don't think that has been the case. And so this is having to come as something that has to be done as a matter of emergency. And so even though, yes, it is more trouble, it is something that I think it could possibly be a disaster waiting to happen.
Right. In the state that you describe it, you're still saying that the motorbike riders are able to still go over it?
Yes. And so that is the danger here, that the Okada riders are having to be, they are the ones that are now conveying people from buses that are coming from Kumasi and Accra and heading up north. So when you get to the Kintampo side of the bridge, you stop and then your people get down and then they pick the Okada bicycles and then they get to the other side. And so that's what is happening here. But for those who are unable to, those who don't want to go through that route, they would have to wait till 6 a.m. When the bridge will be open again. The other issue is that most of the buses, especially the passenger buses that come from towns like Navungo, Bolgatanga, and Tamale, usually leave at about 6 p.m. and beyond. And so those cars will get here at about after 10 o'clock. And so those ones usually at that they would have the Okadas working at the time, and so they would most likely have to sleep over, possibly in their houses or wherever they find, to wait till 6 a.m. when the bridge will be open.
All right. So, Justice, you're saying that the bridge is going to be open at 6 a.m. and so I'd imagine that the engineers are on site and working. Why are they allowing these motorbikes to go across the bridge?
I think that is the only option that they've got, and they tell me that the highway authority person I spoke to in this afternoon told me that yes, it's not really the heavy cars that they are allowing to go onto. It's just the Okada vehicles, which according to them would not pose so much of a threat to the bridge. And so while majority of the work goes on overnight, these Okada tricycles could go on, because people are walking on the bridges anyway. So I think for them it seems like the Okadas wouldn't pose much of a threat to the bridges condition as the work goes on. But I think Israel, the bigger issue that has to be pointed out is that this problem is having to come even more seriously, because this bridge is like 70% of the traffic that goes to northern Ghana goes through this bridge. You have a situation where the eastern corridor of the country, for example, has no really good access route at all. And so you talk of beyond Hohoi, Jastikan, Bimbila, Yendi, all of those towns really have very terrible roads and haven't got good bridges where heavy traffic could move through and traffic like this could move through. So everybody, all the cars move through here, and which is why I think it's a really big issue that projects like the Eastern Corridor roads be taken seriously.
All right. Thank you very much, Justice Baidu. Moving on to other stories, the minority in Parliament is accusing President Akufo-Addo of peddling untruths when he delivered the State of the Nation address on Tuesday. It describes as dubious and misleading claims that the NDC incurred more debt over the last 8 years than all previous governments put together. Minority Leader Harun Idrisu, who addressed journalists on the President's State of the Nation's address, also denied claims that it caused a $2.4 billion debt in the energy sector.
On the energy sector, the President claimed that $2.4 billion of debt has been left by the immediate past NDC government. What he did not add was that these are legacy debts accrued over a period spanning 4 governments under the 4th Republic. So the legacy debt of $2.4 billion is not just the last 4 years of President Mahama or the last 8 years of NDC, but attributable, as I know, many of it to financing of subsidy and dealing with foreign exchange losses over a longer period of time. Even as he cried loud on an outstanding energy sector debt of 2.4 billion, through the NDC, the energy sector levy was introduced in order that it will be used to finance VRA and ECG and to offset the outstanding legacy debt. So he only mentions 2.4 billion without sharing with the Ghanaian people accruals from the energy sector levy that they will soon be using if they are already not using that.
He says the NDC government's accumulated a debt of $20 billion over the last 8 years, not the $120 billion claimed by President Akufo-Addo.
What the two leaders have done is to quote a relatively small figure of 9.5 billion as what they left in 2009 and quote a nominal 120 billion as what currently represents our 122 billion as what currently represents our debt. To the uninitiated mind, this will simply mean that 112.5 billion or 92% of our current debt stock was accrued by the NDC administration. This is a false impression that the Nana Addo Dankwa, the president and his vice, wants Ghanaians to accept as a status of our debt. The reality, however, is that the kind of analysis is deeply flawed and has no basis in sound economic analysis if the intent is not to deliberately mislead the Ghanaian people. Current total national debt is $29.37 billion US. 28.37 billion. I repeat it, our current debt stock stands at $28.37 billion US, which is at the current exchange rate of 1 cedi to 4 tray, gives the 122 billion President Nana mentioned in his address.
He's predicting a sharp decline in the value of the cedi soon.
The president was also silent on the depreciation of the cedi, which has become a major source of concern for Ghanaian businesses and the Ghanaian community. So you will soon witness an epileptic fall of the cedi because they can't hold on to the strength of the Ghanaian cedi, even as they lack monetary and fiscal policy interventions, particularly monetary policy to tame inflation.
Minority leader is also demanding the release of security personnel who he claims are in detention for leaking the video of an assault of a policeman at the Flagstaff House.
Activities of these miscreants came to a shocking crescendo when they assaulted a senior police officer, ASP Nareka Bruce at the Flagstaff. Nanka Bruce at the Flagstaff House while the latter was going about his normal duties. We are told that they are suspecting those who gave out the video footprints, and some persons may be suffering even in detention. They should release those people immediately. If they believe in the rule of law, if you do wrong and you are caught on camera, it is wrong. And it is not for you to trace who exposed the wrong. It is what is important is to right the wrong doing.
Right, we're taking a break on Joy News Prime. We have business news thereafter, and then we have the rest of our headline stories coming up later on. Stay tuned. The opposition NDC is demanding a disbanding of the NPP's invincible forces to end what it describes as the lawless rampaging of the group on perceived supporters of the party. In a press release issued Wednesday afternoon, General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Yesiedu Nketia, charged the president to not only pay lip service, but end the lawlessness by demobilizing the group.
The release comes a day after the president, in his maiden State of the Nation address, condemned the post-election violence that has left many homeless and some injured. It says in the statement, quote, "The National Democratic Congress notes with a lot of hesitant interest that President Nana Akufo-Addo, in his maiden State of the Nation address, eventually called on the lawless, rampaging members of his party to stop all acts of violence and brigandry that they have been consciously unleashing on innocent citizens, especially members or perceived supporters of the NDC, with the tacit support and goading on of the acting national chairman of the NPP, Mr. Freddie Blay, as well as other leading members of the party. End of quote. The General Secretary later on Pulse on Joy News reiterated the party's position.
It is not a group that provides security. Who is threatening to attack NPP headquarters? Whom are they protecting the headquarters against? It is that group that is leading the gang of lawless brigands, invading public offices and seizing people's cars and invading private property. These are the people we are talking about. It is not about NPP headquarters.
Have you got any evidence to the effect that the invincible forces are directly involved in these acts of lawlessness, as you call it?
The national chairman of NPP came out, the acting national chairman. He was in the studios of Asempa, in your building there, and claimed that they were sent by the leadership of the party and government to go and chase public property and recover the public property. What are we talking about? He's on record to have said that. So have they denied that they are not behind it?
In a related story, the minority leader Haruna Idrisu also told a news conference on Wednesday the belated call by the president to end the violence is not enough.
Those of you who are familiar with developments in the Busia era were justified to be worried and concerned. And therefore, it's not enough for the president to pontificate and just state that I condemn those acts. Those of you who remember, even in the run-up to the handing over, President Mahama had cause to draw his attention to the rampaging youth. Even this morning, we are still being told that public institutions are still being attacked, and men and women working for the state feel uneasy and uncomfortable. Therefore, let me say here and now that President Akufo-Addo's stance on these acts of lawlessness is most disappointing, especially as he touts himself as a champion of human rights and someone who upholds fundamental freedoms. We know that many of these occurrences have resulted in infractions of the rights of other persons. His justification and equalization of these shameful acts makes him sound more like the commander-in-chief, as I indicated, of a vigilante group than the commander-in-chief, as we know and respect him, of the armed forces of the Republic of Ghana.
The opposition NDC, among other things, says the inability of the security forces to protect lives and property compelled the party to ask its members to employ the first law of nature, which is self-defense, as the only way of fending off the fiendish attack of the Nana Akufo-Addo's invincible forces. The party in the press release has also indicated its decision to call off a planned demonstration of the party's youth wing against NPP violence as a sign of good faith. The party also called on the president to walk the talk.
Well, the Deputy General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party, Nana Obiri Boahene, has meanwhile dismissed calls for the invincible forces to be disbanded. He reacted on the polls, first reacting to the refusal by the General Secretary of the NDC to debate him on the show.
If the line breaks, I'm on the highway, so in case the line breaks, you can start of it.
Okay.
Who is that Deputy General Secretary? Obiri Boahene.
Yes, please. I've got another.
On another stage, I don't want to be debating.
It's not really a debate, General. We just want to find out if they will heed to what you're asking them to do to disband the group.
Out of Asempa platform because of the way he was misconducting himself. So if you want to speak to him, you can grant him your interview and let listeners judge him.
Where is Rashid Nkatia now?
Well, his line
is he not prepared to engage me in any discussion?
He says he's not, sir.
I will chase him, I will pursue him to wherever he goes. I will chase him, I will continue to pursue him to wherever he goes. This is the mosquito which he has been referring to himself. I am a mosquito repellent.
Right, in other news, Minority Leader Haruna Iddrisu has faulted government for the recent deaths in the northern region town of Bimbla following violent clashes there. According to him, the deaths could have been avoided if government had handled more efficiently intelligence they received ahead of the disturbances. This was after Interior Minister Ambrose Derry delivered a statement in Parliament on the Bimbla situation on Wednesday, assuring government is working to restore lasting peace.
In his brief to the House, the Interior Minister traced the violence to a chieftaincy dispute which began in 2001 after then Bimbla chief, Na Abarika, died. He indicated an intricate conflict between two claimants of the skin resulted in the death of Na and Danny Dasani, along with 3 others in June 2014. 13 others died in a similar clash in June 2015. He says government is committed to ensuring sustainable peace.
Government, Mr. Speaker, will not shirk its responsibility to ensure peace, security and safety of all persons in Bimbla, for that matter Ghana, and in Bimbla, government, in consonance of this commitment, has shown by the heavy deployment that we put in place. In pursuit of that, as I said, the team of investigators and operators are on the ground, and we want to find out who are the perpetrators. As of today, 3 suspects have been identified and are in custody of the police to assist further investigations.
On the latest violence, Mr. Derry disclosed the Northern Regional Security Council received intelligence on February 8th about a planned encirclement with the potential to adversely affect security. But efforts to get the regent of Bimbla to postpone the encirclement proved futile, resulting in the clashes.
The RESEC, through the regional police commander, had in fact corroborated the position of DISEC, but they failed to dissuade the regent to defer the planned encirclement. Later, on the morning of 9th February 2017, while the security forces were in a precautionary move to move reinforcement from Yendi to Bimbla, the Nanuma North DISEC reported that the regent had in fact performed the encirclement ahead of the scheduled time of 3 p.m. and that tension was getting out of hand.
Minority Leader Haruna Iddrisu, who is also MP for Tamale North, says the situation provides useful lessons for government on how to prevent such clashes in future.
Dagbang, Yendi, Boku must all be on red alert. What we expect is responsibility from government, that they will maintain law and order, safeguard properties, and enforce the law, nothing more. That is our expectation from government on all this. And therefore, we must work together to get this conflict in a preemptive manner.
Now, the Hohoe Police Divisional Command has discovered a large cannabis cultivation hub in the Afajato South District of the Volta region. The cannabis plantation, which is located at Nyeve or Obedasama village, a small farming community about 3 kilometers drive from Vekolenu, measures over 30 acres. Joy News' Fred Kwame Asare was with the team and filed the following report.
Police team of about 62 men, made up of officers from the Hohoe Divisional Command and the regional SWAT team, invaded the plantation in the early hours of Wednesday. Apparently, a greater portion of youth in the community engaged in illegal cultivation of cannabis, considering the size of the plantation discovered. According to police intelligence, the plantation belongs to different individuals who have cultivated corn to serve as boundaries to their respective farms. The farmers have also strategically laid pipes from a nearby stream to the plantation to irrigate the cannabis, enabling all year-round cultivation. The police team led by ACP Ayi Martin discovered 4 water pumps, pesticides and fertilizers at 4 hamlets which serve as resting places for the farmers. The police team was able to destroy and set ablaze about 35% of the plantation and arranged to visit at a later date to destroy the rest and further scout for more of such plantations. There were no arrests as farmers fled when the police got there. The Hohoi Divisional Police Commander, ACP Ayi Martin, disclosed that the operation forms part of the Volta Regional Police Command's intention to clamp down on illegal cannabis cultivation. He assured that though no individual has been identified as the owner of the plantation, he would work hard with opinion leaders in the community until culprits are apprehended.
We want to also look for the owners of the land. If you get the owners of the land, possibly we'll get the farmers who own these farms. But not because these things are quick yielding. We don't want to waste time. We don't want to go to look for the farmers or the owners of the farm. We want to do the destruction first. And then later on, we go look for the owner of the farm, which possibly will lead us to the owners of the farm as well.
He hinted his command would embark on a sensitization drive to educate youth in the area to rather channel their energies into farming of cash crops, which would equally yield the same income.
We will not stop at only destroying the farm. We want to go further to sensitize people that, you see, look at the land. This is very fertile land who can support all types of crops that are grown in Ghana. And it is being used for this grass. And very few people can benefit from this. Not everybody smokes weed. And even if we all smoke weed, it's an illegal business. So we also advise that instead of channeling their energies into cultivating of weed, they should rather plant other crops that the nation can benefit from.
Fred Kwame Asari's report for Joy News.
I don't want to leave.
Absenteeism at work due to malaria and related ailments is significantly undermining productivity in Ghana. Businesses are therefore being urged to invest in malaria eradication programs to ensure the workforce is efficient at all times. One such program is the Malaria Safe Initiative launched on Wednesday by First Lady Rebecca Kufuor. The project, according to her, is aimed at engaging private sector investment in malaria prevention. Anodame has more.
Malaria, according to Johns Hopkins Center for Communications, resulted in the economic loss of almost $7 million in some 62 companies surveyed in Ghana. Described as a silent killer, malaria has also been identified as the cause of nearly 4,000 loss of work days due to absenteeism. Country Director for Johns Hopkins, Emmanuel Fiagbe, believes this trend can be curtailed if companies rigorously invest in the prevention and eradication of malaria.
We all know that commercial sale of nets went down for the past few years as a result of the increased free distribution that has been going on. And the producers and the distributors did not find their trade very much profitable, and therefore a lot of them withdrew. But this project is directed at re-energizing the commercial sector. This is to ensure that when you need nets, you get them.
Some companies have taken on the task already and shared with Joy News their benefits.
We realized that as of 2011, the number of hours wasted was 536. Okay, and as
per month or year?
For the whole year.
The whole year.
Yeah. And as of last year, which is 2016, we realized that we have reduced the number of hours from that 536 to 56, which was...
What was your intervention?
Okay, what we were doing was we were distributing a bed net, that is the ITNs, insecticide treated net, to the employees and their dependents.
Launching the Malaria Safe Initiative, First Lady Rebecca Kufuor stated eradication of malaria must be seen as a fundamental human right that needs the attention of the private sector.
Malaria is therefore a major socio-economic challenge and has to be addressed as a fundamental human right issue and a prerequisite for economic growth. Private sector participation in malaria prevention is a sure way of supporting government in sustaining health and therefore promoting wealth. Leaders of business in Ghana, making your working environment malaria safe, making your workers malaria safe, and supporting communities in Ghana remain malaria safe is a sure way to ensure health and wealth for all.
For Joy News, my name is Hannah Odami.
The Community Special Vocational School in Kumasi hasn't graduated any trainee in the last 7 years due to the absence of training materials. Authorities say they are also unable to admit new students for vocational courses because they end up occupying space with virtually no activity. They want the government to strengthen the special school program alongside the free senior high school policy it intends to roll out later this year. Lava Firm's Nanaya Ojima reports.
Education in principle is free for special schools, but years of neglect has rendered them irrelevant. Challenges with teaching and learning materials, as well as other logistics, continue to plague them. The only training available for students is candle making. In some instances, workshops are either empty or stocked with obsolete equipment. At the Community Special Vocational School, a laboratory project has been abandoned for lack of funds. Teachers who supported with provision of some materials are tired and reluctant to continue. After all, government withdrew incentive for teachers in the field. School authorities want government to take a closer look at special education. Joseph Stanley Mwene is head teacher.
We graduated every 3 years. However, we don't have any plans that will cater for teaching and learning, especially in the vocational areas. So what I'm expecting government to do now is that they should at least prioritize their free HHS system so that special schools can benefit a lot, especially my school here, because we are purely into vocational studies.
When was the last time you graduated some students since these things are not coming?
We had one student who is currently at Ayija Zongo. The parents have been able to establish him, and he's now selling petty things in a kiosk. That has been in 2010.
And since then, no?
Since then, no, because we don't have the materials to train them so they can graduate.
Mr. Mwene is worried about failure of parents to regularly visit their wards in the school.
If you have a child who is capable of doing it, you love the child. But if you have a child who is of this kind we are caring for, the love and care is not there. After all, they see security as problems. It's not as problem. And they're even wishing that they should have come somewhere for them to have the rest. But they should take up the same challenge.
Nanaya Ojima reporting.